time and again, the Democratic Party has shown that they have no spine and they're not willing to stand up to Republicans. However, when it comes to the issue of Neil Gorsuch being confirmed to the Supreme Court, I've actually been pleasantly surprised because they have yet to back down from their claim to filibuster Neil Gorsuch. This is surprising to me, and I still am waiting for them to back down, but Chuck Schumer is maintaining that they will in fact be trying to block his nomination. Now, there's two reasons why I think they must oppose Neil Gorsuch. The first is based on principle. It's because if you vote to confirm him to the Supreme Court, you are rewarding Republican obstructionism. They blocked Obama's nominee when it was Obama's constitutional duty to nominate someone. Even if I disliked Merrick Garland, it was still Obama's justice to name. So if you approve of Neil Gorsuch after they did that, you're rewarding bad behavior, and they will in fact do it again, and you cannot allow them to be rewarded for behaving badly. Now, second of all, we have to oppose Neil Gorsuch based on the policy substance as well, because for some reason, large multinational corporations and billionaires really like Neil Gorsuch. They are spending $10 million to get him on the Supreme Court, and when Neil Gorsuch was recently asked about the $10 million being spent to get him on the Supreme Court in dark money, his response was, it is what it is. So that's what he thinks about money in politics. That's what he thinks about legalized bribery. So we have to oppose him based on principle and policy. And thankfully, most Democrats up until this point have pledged to do that. However, there are a couple of Democrats that have chosen to put their tail between their legs, and they're now caving to Neil Gorsuch. Can you guess who? It's the usual suspects. So the Huffington Post explains, Senator Joe Manchin announced Thursday that he will vote for Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, making him the first Democrat to announce support for President Donald Trump's court pick. Senators have a constitutional obligation to advise and consent on a nominee to fill this Supreme Court vacancy, and simply put, we have a responsibility to do our jobs as elected officials, Manchin said in a statement. After considering his record, watching his testimony in front of the Judiciary Committee, and meeting with him twice, I will vote to confirm him to be the 9th justice on the Supreme Court. He has been consistently rated as a well-qualified jurist, the highest rating a jurist can receive, and I have found him to be an honest and thoughtful man, Manchin said. I hold no illusions that I will agree with every decision Judge Gorsuch may issue in the future, but I have not found any reasons why this jurist should not be a Supreme Court justice. Maybe because Republicans stole this nomination away from President Obama? That's not a good enough reason alone? Now, literally just minutes after Joe Manchin announced that he would be caving to Republicans and will be voting to confirm Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, guess who else caved? Heidi Heitkamp. He has a record as a balanced, meticulous, and well-respected jurist who understands the rule of law, Heitkamp said in a statement. During our meeting at his hearing, he reinforced the importance of a judiciary that remains independent of the executive and legislative branches of government, and that acts as a proper check and balance on the other two branches of government. I expect him to follow through on that critical tenet. Oh, do you now, Heidi? You really think that he's going to get on there and be impartial and not take Republican ideals into consideration like all the other Supreme Court justices do all the time? This is so frustrating to me. And they really don't care. I mean, I recently covered a segment where Joe Manchin on a conference call with constituents, when they tried to confront him about his corporatism and siding with Republicans, he said, you know what, I'm not changing, vote me out. Verbatim, that's what he said. I'm not changing, vote me out. So they have no regard for their constituents, and even though they claim to be part of the so-called liberal party, they refuse to be liberal. They refuse to actually stand up to Donald Trump in any meaningful way because they keep approving Donald Trump's harmful nominations. I mean, Joe Manchin literally voted for a racist to be the Attorney General. This is a very important position, but you chose Jeff Sessions. You voted to confirm him to be the U.S. Attorney General. And also, he voted to confirm Scott Pruitt to be on the EPA, to be the new EPA chief, because he stated that he thinks what Obama did was criminal. And he was referring to how Obama tried to put in place some regulations on the fossil fuel industry. So these two Democrats must be shamed. If you continue to act out and go against the will of your constituents, they have to be shamed. This is unacceptable. I mean, on the one thing that Democrats should remain strong on, they're caving immediately. I mean, the vote isn't until April 7th, I believe. They have weeks, and they're caving this early. And when it comes to Joe Manchin, when I found out that he would be confirming Neil Gorsuch, I thought, oh God, this is going to be a domino effect, and more Democrats will fall in line behind Joe Manchin and vote to approve Neil Gorsuch because they don't have a spine. And then I didn't even have to finish the article, and then we got to Heidi Heitkamp. So this is unacceptable. These two corporate sellouts, these spineless Democrats, have to be primaried. And if they're not successfully primaried, then you might as well just vote for the Republican because that's what you're getting.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.